like to start just with the basic kind of rub down of the neck to figure out where all the tension is. A lot of people that are sitting at desks all day, which are the people, 90% of the people that we work on, they're going to have tension in their traps. They're going to have tension in their levators, which are right here, and they're also going to have tension in the clavicle muscles and up in the mastoid, which is the jaw muscle. So that's why I like to have people sitting up rather than leaning forward to do their neck muscle, because then you have full access to the muscles in the front as well, where if they're leaning forward, those muscles are kind of blocked for you. So I usually just start up in here. As always, let me know if the pressure's too much. Okay. And it helps a lot if you pull the shoulder back while you're working on it, because it helps to release a little bit of the tension and a little bit of the pull. And you just kind of come in and get a feel for where the tension is, get a feel for where the knots are. And once you figure out where the knots are, you can kind of get into the individualized knots, grab a hold of them, put pressure on them until they go away. I also like to support the head with one side and stretch it with my thumb. Put my thumb up under the skull, stretch the neck down. As I'm stretching the neck, I'm massaging the muscles with the other side. You can do that with your fingertips. You can also do it with your knuckles. And then you just switch hands and do it on the other side. One of the biggest things to remember with the neck is symmetry. Whatever you do on one side, you need to do on the other, or else you're going to leave them feeling grossly unbalanced, and they'll kind of feel like their neck is pulling one direction. The suboccipital muscles, which are the 8 little muscles up underneath the skull, it's absolutely crucial that you work on those. A lot of people will stand in front of their clients and pull on the base of the skull. That's a great way to release the tension in those. And a lot of times I'll just move their head so that their movement is what's providing a lot of the pressure. So you're not wearing yourself out. You're not wearing your fingers out. And then up in here, right by the collarbone, there's muscles that attach right there. A lot of people that complain of headaches, this is going to be a major spot for headaches. Just push and stretch. Right below the jawbone, follow the muscle fibers down. Always make sure that you communicate with your clients, make sure that they're comfortable with what you're doing. And then the jawbone is prone to a lot of trigger points. So it's always good. There's lots of people that clench their jaws when they're working on a computer, lifting weights at the gym, sleeping, that don't even know that they do it, so they don't even realize that there's tension in their jaw. And that will help release a lot of the tension that's caused in the neck as well, in the neck and head. Now, where we do corporate massage, I don't very often work on the head because a lot of people are going back to work and they don't want to walk out with their hair all crazy. But I will ask, especially if they've mentioned if they've had headaches, I will ask if they want me to work on their head. And if they do, the temporalis muscle, which is right in here, is always a great place to start. And you can get underneath their hair and do it without messing up their hair too much. Just small circular strokes. Just apply your pressure with the pads of your fingers. And do small circular strokes. Some people do not like head massages, so always get permission before you work on them. Unless you're poor Brooke and then I just make you do it.
Yeah, it's okay you work in my head, by the way.
My name is Brooke. I'm I'm the training manager at Incorporate Massage, and today I'm going to talk to you guys about working weight of your massage equipment, specifically your chair. So the working weight of the chair is something that you need to pay attention to so that you can maintain the longevity and the quality of your chair to avoid having to purchase a new one in the future, near future, or avoid any potential hazardous accidents along the way. Because our chairs get a lot of wear and tear, right? So investing in a really good chair is really important. And there's a few things that you got to consider when you're looking for a chair. And most of you already, all of you already have chairs, right? But does anybody know the working weight of your chair? Anybody?
I think mine's like 300 pounds.
300 pounds is pretty typical. But if you don't know, you need to find out, okay? So there's a few different words that I'm going to discuss today. One's working weight, one's static weight, and then there's drop weight. So there's all different types of weight. Does anybody know the difference between static weight and working weight? Okay, so static weight is like it's static, not moving, right? Stays the same. So basically I weigh this much when I'm just standing still versus I weigh this much when I'm moving around, okay? So every chair has a static weight and a working weight. And in chairs, the static weight is double what your working weight is. So the good news is that you will never have to refuse service to anybody, because if your working weight is say 250 and that's the low end, your static weight means you can work on somebody who's at least 500 pounds, okay? So that's awesome. So there's no need to refuse service for anybody who might be that big, okay? Because there's no good way to do it. I was racking my brains thinking of what's a really nice way of saying you can't sit in my chair, and there just isn't one. So you don't have to do that at all. So it's just the concept that when you're working on someone, they weigh more while they're moving versus when they're just sitting still. So if you have somebody who seems as if they might exceed the working weight of your chair, so if your chair is less than 300 pounds, that can present a little bit more of a problem than if your chair is over 300 pounds. So getting to know your chair is really important, and I do have a graph if you guys have any questions. Rachel was nice enough to put this together for me, so let me know. If you just have the brand of your chair, I can tell you what your working weight is. Okay, so when you have a client in your chair, one thing that you really need to do is instruct them how to get in the chair. So sometimes people ask the question, like, have you ever had a chair massage before? And then that leads you into maybe you need to give them instruction. I say always give them instruction. It doesn't matter. Don't even ask that question. Just say, okay, so to sit in the chair, keywords to say and enunciate are slowly and carefully, because somebody sitting in the chair like this is going to weigh a lot less than the same size person going, right? So that just means that I weigh more because I was applying more movement versus if I was being really slow. Also, if somebody sits on your chair, putting all their weight on one joint and then moving over like this is also a very unsafe way to get in someone's chair, and that being done over and over and over, especially by people who are really excited to get into your chair and get their massage, is going to wear down your chair really fast and cause the joints to break. And by joints, I mean hinges and certain parts. Okay, so when you're instructing somebody to get in your chair, I keep all of the little hinges unlocked and down, and you will do whatever is best according to your chair. And let's see if I can find them all. Okay, so everything is unlocked and in its lowest position. So the lower to the ground, the closer to the base it is, the more weight it can take. So I stand in front of my chair like this, kind of shielding it, like, don't sit in it yet, I'm not done talking to you. So while I'm doing my verbal intake, I'll ask them where their injuries are, where they want me to focus, and I'll say, okay, so when you sit down, just sit down really slow and careful, use 2 hands on the chest piece, and my chest piece is down here. It's not up in this more compromised position, right? So your chest piece is down here, use 2 hands, straddle the seat, and then just carefully, slowly sit down, and then place your knees one at a time on the knee pads. So emphasizing the slow and the careful and demonstrating for them will be the best thing. And then I have them lift the chest piece, place it where they want it, and then I lock it into place, and then same with the base rest, okay? They'll hold it in place, I'll lock it where they want it to be. And that will ensure your chair is safe upon entry. And now when the person is in the chair, like I said, they weigh the least amount when they're sitting still. So the type of massage that you want to do if the client might be exceeding the chair's working weight capacity is slow, don't move your client around, and don't apply a lot of pressure. If your client is to the size where you think that they might be exceeding the working weight, a really good thing to do, if your chair allows, is remove the knee pads. Like, don't even ask. Just, you're setting up your chair for them, just remove them, set them to the side, and then tell them to sit down. No questions asked, right? It's gonna be more comfortable for them anyway. But if it doesn't allow, then you will instruct them. It might be a comfortable option to place your feet flat on the floor. So if their feet are flat on the floor, they're also taking a lot of that weight off of the base, okay? So that helps. And then when you're working on them, you can also instruct them to press their feet into the floor, again, lifting their weight up off your chair if they need more pressure. So I would say something like, if at any point you need more pressure, just press your feet into the floor, and that will put some pressure into my touch. And they can just use that pressure to get whatever type of pressure they want. And you don't have to apply any. So you're also working less, and you're not applying extra weight to your chair, okay? And that's basically it. Just don't move them around. So, you know, when you've got your client and you're doing compressions up and down the spine, just don't do that where you can see your client bouncing. Do it nice and slow, maybe more strokes than compressions, more petrissage, maybe friction, but just lay off the pressure and just say, you know, this person doesn't need any pressure, and if they do, they'll apply it themselves, and it won't be applied to my chair. So that is the basic working weight technique to maintain, to keep your chair in good working condition. Any questions, comments, concerns? Okay. Anyone?
You go ahead whenever you're ready.
All right, so this tutorial is going to be on rib release. It's a big thing that clients are very impressed with. So, and it's super easy, and it's going to be kind of a quick training. So, if anyone else has techniques on rib release, please feel free to share afterwards. So, typically when you get a client and you do that first verbal assessment and you ask where they have restrictions, more often than not, somebody's not going to typically come in and say, oh, this rib, you know, I think I have a rib out or something like that. That's not what they assume is going on. So the symptoms that somebody might have is painful, sharp pain while breathing, sharp pain near the spine while moving their arms around, or limited mobility in their neck, painful movement of the neck. Those are common symptoms for rib restrictions, but they're not the only ones. There can be many others. So the way I start most of my sessions, just because this kind of addresses a wide range of restrictions, I always start with my forearms on either side of the spine, right in the belly of the erector spinae group. And if I knew my chair better, I would have raised this a little because it's a little short.
We can.
But we're good. Okay, so I have my forearms on either side of the spine, and I just wait for her breath. If your client is breathing kind of shallow and you don't feel it, you can call for breath. But I just wait, and I'm feeling where the breath is moving. Is it moving up towards her head? Is it moving down her spine? Is it moving sideways? And where is it not moving? Is it in one side of her spine but not the other? So I'll wait until I make that assessment. Takes maybe 2 to 3 breath cycles. So in Janelle, she has pretty good breath, but I'm gonna guess, because of the limited motion of her breath, that there's more restriction on this side. So then I'll do some compressions down the spine, and right now I'm feeling for a rib restriction. Now what you might feel is, so ribs, they lay generally pretty flat like this. And then when you breathe, they move like the Venetian blinds like this. up and down. So if a rib is stuck, it's gonna be sideways like this, and you might feel a sharp edge similar to the blade of your forearm. It's gonna feel kind of predominant comparative to the other ribs, and you're gonna feel a sharpness, like an edge. So what I do if I find a rib, and I'm not finding anything particular on Janelle, but I'm gonna pretend. So I'll find that little sharp piece of rib, and then I'll give it a spring test. So a spring test is not like a bounce like this, and it's not anything where you'd see your client move. So it's not that either. Sorry, Janelle.
That's right.
So what it is just a little bit of weight in and then a back off. And what I'm trying to feel for is, does this rib spring? Does it move? And if it does, you can test the one above it or below it just to compare. Is it moving? Is it not moving? Is it moving just as well? And so if you determine, yeah, that rib doesn't move as good as the one above and below it. So then I would ask my client, is this a tender spot for you? Does this have a quality to it? And more often than not, they're gonna be like, before you even ask, while you're pushing, they're gonna be like, oh yeah, that hurts, that's a good spot. Or their answer could be, no, I don't feel anything. So if a rib isn't painful and it's just in this position, then more than likely it's not stuck, it's just in this position and it just moves differently. And if that's the case, don't worry about it. We don't care if things are nice and flat and pretty, we just care if they're moving, okay? Because movement is medicine. So we don't want to just like jam her rib back into a spot where it's not used to. So she's like, yes, there's pain, and you can determine it's not moving. So the next thing to intervene is, so you want to determine, is it stuck open or is it stuck closed? 9 times out of 10, it's going to be stuck open, but either way, you have a 50-50 chance of guessing. I can go over a whole spiel of how you can really determine, but in a chair massage, you don't have really that much time to do that much of an assessment, and the client is going to be like, stop assessing me, just massage me. So a quick intervention for this is you would take the client's arm and you would place it on your own leg like this, and you say, just let your arm be heavy right here. So you just want their arm to line up with their side, okay? Doesn't really matter of the position, rotation. I prefer elbow out, but that's just me. And then I'll find that restriction again, and I can either use fingertips or elbow, and you don't want to do this. I'm doing this for camera. You want to be more here or here, just whatever your body mechanics likes to do. So I'm on this rib, and I'm giving it just some pressure, and then I'll instruct my client, Janelle, I want you to take a deep breath in, and then on your exhale, I want you to blow out your birthday candles and reach down to the floor with your arm. And that's going to compress the ribs closed. And now take a breath in, and then you're going to encourage the opening of the rib, and then do one more of those. Out, reach, 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 reach. More breath out, and breathe. And rest. And you can shake out her arm and put it back, and then reassess. Like, is it still there? Is it moving? How does that feel now, Janelle? Does it feel amazing that your rib that wasn't stuck is now unstuck?
It feels amazing.
Good. Okay, so that's a quick intervention for it. Now, if the rib was stuck closed, so let's say you did that and it didn't work, like, oh no, it still hurts and it's still not moving, so you could do another intervention where you place the client's arm above their head like this. Now, only do this if their shoulders are happy and healthy, and you'll learn that in your verbal intake. So you've got it this way, and you'll take your client's hand like this just as a support, and then you'll say shallow breath in, and big breath out, and big breath in, and then you'll just apply some pressure, and then rest. That one doesn't happen very often. More often than not, they're closed, they're stuck open. But that's how you would do a stuck closed rib. Okay? So those are the two main interventions, quick interventions for a chair massage for a rib. Now for the first rib. So you'll have your client sit up and place their hands on the chest rest for support. The first rib is when a client feels like they have a stiff neck, they can't move it very well, and when they do, it's painful. So the first thing that you want to look at is the trap area, and is one higher than the other. So you'd kind of eyeball and assess, be like, it's a little higher than the other. Now if somebody has a rib that's like up here, then that's not your scope of practice, okay? That's actually something like a cervical rib or something like that. But if it's just slightly above, then what you want to do is instruct your client to do a shoulder roll, move your shoulders up and back, and rest your scapulas or shoulder blades on your spine there, your rib cage. And let your scapulas just kind of melt down your back. Good. And now I've got her traps, and I'm just kind of peeling them back. And I might do a little finger compression, grab those traps, and peel them back. Okay. And then walk your fingers a little bit forward, and now you're going to feel those first ribs. So I'm doing just a little spring test side to side, and her first rib is awesome. They're both springy, they're both happy, healthy first ribs. But if there was one that was stuck, one would be bouncy and one would be not bouncy. And that means it's a stuck first rib. So that first rib, if it's higher, scalenes could be pulling it up, right? So some scalene work, soften the scalenes, but again, you want to be really gentle. You don't want to mash on these things because there's that big bundle of nerves back here called the brachial plexus, okay? And nerves do not like to be mashed on. They like to be treated nice. So you'll do some of your own scalene work, get that all done, and once you've assessed those scalenes and gotten them nice and soft, you can either, depending on who you are and who your client is, you can get back on that rib with some finger pressure, or you can drop an elbow, but if you do, make sure that it's gentle, and keep in mind that the harder you press, the less you're gonna feel, and you need to feel this rib move. So I'll instruct Janelle, or your client, to tuck your chin into your chest, give yourself a double chin, and now let your eyeballs fall down to your lap, and your head to fall down a little bit more, good. And now let your eyes rotate your head to look at your knee on the same side. There you go, and then just kind of hang out. I felt her rib move. I can apply a tiny bit pressure. How's the pressure, Janelle? Is that okay? Good. And then move your eyes back to your lap and bring your eyes back up to horizon. There you go. And then reassess. Yeah, now we got more movement in there. If you got, some movement or not as much movement, the next thing you can do, same thing, peel the traps backwards, get an elbow on there, tuck your chin into your chest, or give yourself a double chin, is that the same thing? And then let your head fall down towards your lap, and then let your opposite ear go to your opposite to the shoulder. Sorry, side bend your neck. There you go. Okay, so this is awesome. So your clients are gonna be like, what? What are you saying? So you can even say, all right, so just down at your lap, side bend to your shoulder, okay? And you gotta keep your head down the whole time, rather than looking up. Okay, so let's start over. Get your elbow in there, tuck your chin, eyes down, ear to shoulder, and that's a stretch. And then eyes back to lap, and then up to horizon. Ooh, we got a pop. That was good, right? And I was like, how much pressure was I using?
Not a lot.
Like none,
no,
right?
Like medium pressure.
Yeah. And then I say something cute like, chiropractic adjustments are free. No, don't say that. I'm just kidding. Don't say that.
Oh, I have this knot in my neck right there. No.
Yeah, let me just get that for you. Okay, so that's rib release.
Cool.
That's all there is to it.
Getting up here and doing this for me is really fulfilling, and it's really an accomplishment, just to kind of, and I'm really indebted to you guys for helping me get here. I don't think I would go away. I want you guys to sing it so loud that Chester can hear you. Are you ready to do that?
Howdy everybody, Chaz here, and here in Texas we have a completely different way of talking. You might say we have our own language, as a matter of fact, so it's confusing to a lot of people that come down here from Texas from the north. So I wanted to help you guys out and give you 10 phrases that only make sense to people from Texas. Here's the first one, fixin' to. You've heard this one many times. Basically it's used when we're about to do something. Hey y'all, I'm fixing to go to the beer store. Y'all want anything? That's fixin'. Number 2, all hat and no cattle. Basically, this describes somebody that talks this big game but just can't back it up. It also could go along with all bark and no bite, that phrase there. Don't worry about that dude. He's all hat and no cattle. There's the second one. Third one, might could. Well, might could is just simply saying we're able to do something. I'm fixing to do some work on my truck, but I might could help you move this weekend. Number 4, I wouldn't trust him any further than I could throw him. Basically, you just don't trust the dude. That dude lies all the time. I wouldn't trust him any further than I could throw him. All right, going on to the next one, y'all. That's probably one of the most popular ones here in Texas. Basically, it's a contraction of you and all. And here in Texas, we refer to several people when we say y'all. Like, for instance, what kind of beer y'all want at the store? Y'all. All right, going on here. If you don't like the weather, wait 10 minutes. Now, here in Texas, it could change at any moment in time. It could snow 1 minute, and then the next minute, it's 70 degrees outside. So here in Texas, we use it to say, hey, you know, if you don't like the weather, just wait 10 minutes. It'll change. Promise you that. That's for sure. All right, here's another one. Do what? Now, this phrase is used if we didn't hear what you said, or if we're surprised about something. For instance, you hear about Bobby Sue getting fired for drinking on the job again. Do what? Yeah. Or, hey, Billy, hand me that 3/16 socket wrench, will you? Do what? Do what? There you go. What kind of Coke do you want is the next one. Yes, here in Texas, we refer to just about every single soda you can imagine as a Coke. Hey, I'm going down to the store to get a Coke. There you go. Simple enough. All right, this one right here, hold my beer and watch this. Now, if you hear this phrase, this is we're about to do something really stupid or epic or both. I'm fixing to jump them trash cans over there. Here, hold my beer. Watch this. There you go. And the last one, used to could. Now, this phrase is used to talk about something physical or mental that's someone, could do in the past, but we can't do, now. I used to could be able to drink a whole 12-pack, but now I can't. Those are 10 phrases that only make sense to people right here in Texas, and now you know.